Welcome back to Policy and Rights here at Depictions Media Radio. As you know, we do, well, here at Depictions Media, we do documentaries as well as podcasts, and we try to center all of that stuff around human rights, human expression, freedom of expression. Matter of fact, that's what we try to advocate for is equality and freedom of expression for every human being, for every being on our planet. This planet we call Earth. So let's talk about Pride. A couple weekends ago, we showed our film Moomtaz Khatoon, a gender fluid queer Muslim, which, Moomtaz is one of my friends, and Moomtaz, she was made to suppress her feelings and suppress her female side, and was told that expressing her female side, there was something wrong with it. Now, my friend is also MTS Poppet, and while we're successful filmmakers, he is a very successful counselor and helps a lot of gender fluid young people find their way through a system that wants to discriminate against gender fluidity. Now, I'm going to say this, my basic belief is that gender itself doesn't really it doesn't matter. It doesn't mean because you're one gender or another gender, or because you're queer or not queer, it doesn't make you any better to do a job or make you a better human being or any of that sort of stuff. None of that really matters. But what does matter is being free to express yourself, to show who it is that you are deep inside, and to freely share that with the world and share that and find love and from all of the rest of the beings that are around you. That's what really matters. And that's why I participate in Depictions Media that participates in Pride. Because Pride it started out as a protest and is still a protest as well as a celebration of being able to freely express who you are and what is deep inside of you. It doesn't matter the pronouns that you choose to use, that's your freedom. It doesn't matter the gender that you choose to identify with. Again, that is your freedom. It doesn't matter when it comes to expression. It doesn't matter as many people are talking about, the biology. That doesn't matter because expression is coming from your emotions. And those emotions are going to exist regardless of the biological, or any of the rest of it. We need to be able to do that and do it freely. Personally, I do a lot with my own fashion. It is personal to me. And Moomtaz, when Moomtaz is around, she also does it with her fashion, with wearing a scarf. Moomtaz also chooses, and one of the differences is, Moomtaz chooses not to shave, whereas I stay very clean shaven. So different ways of expressing ourselves, different ways of showing our freedom with our fashion, but ultimately it shows our need to find the love, a deep, long-lasting love. And that is also why I'm proud to say that Taz is a friend, as well as MTS is a friend. So we showed the film at Langley Pride, and we were warmly invited to show the film. And I want to thank those. I want to thank Oliver. I want to thank Ernie and Kate and Jeanette and Dave and many others for allowing us to share our film at their celebration, at their Pride event in Langley, BC, at the Langley Resources Center. It was a lot of fun, and it was a lot of learning, and a lot of really wonderful emotions, and a lot of some deep emotions that were shared that day as we shared the film and had a talk afterwards. So what you're about to see is that talk. And I want to thank Bob Homer from the Local Observer for recording it and sharing the footage with us so that we can put it out also through our system and to those of you who follow us. So let's watch the footage of the talkback that we had after the film and hear what some of the audience members had to say also about what pride means to them.
So I am Moomtaz Khatoon. I am the star and the director of the film, which is actually called Moomtaz Khatoon Gender Fluid for Muslim. And it is partly about pinkwashing, but it's not called no more pinkwashing. It's part of the film. But you can talk about it. This is Michael, my producer, and we made the film together.
More question is about following him around last year during Pride season and then telling his story about how he got to where that is. Okay. Wait a second. I'm so old guy sometimes I forget the pronouns.
So yeah, let's watch the film, and it's pretty self-explanatory. And we'll do a discussion.
Yeah.
Thank you. What's happening in Palestine, and heartbreaking that our private organizations don't really care. Corporations that are right. So can you hear me? Is this for this reference? So yeah, so it's just that's what, and it's 20 minutes. 20 minutes story, but I think it's important to tell, and especially here in Langley. I'm so happy that Langley Pride invited us to show our film and also come in against pinkwashing and support of Langley seniors and Langley youth and everybody else. So I'm really happy to be here.
I'm very happy to be here in Langley to talk about this. One thing I do want to say, though, and two of my fellow volunteers are back there, at the flag raising, interestingly enough, that the mayor of Langley City showed up for the flag raising. In fact, he did the flag raising. But the mayor of Langley Township did not show up. Does that kind of say something about who we should be voting for versus who we might want to leave out when it comes to issues around equality? And that's it. And the long and short of it is pinkwashing is about being able to express yourself equally as everyone else in the world. And that is why we decided to put this story together the way it is. And especially includes Link, where she's talking about what's happening to her people back in Palestine.
Yeah. So Michael is the Victims Media, the broadcaster, podcaster, and and has been helped me make this film and another film as well. So thank you very much for helping me tell this story. Any questions? Any comments? Anything that you want to share? Yeah.
So I know that being gender fluid and like deviating away from the gender binary is very difficult. What was the moment you decided to let go of the so-called system and come into your own gender as a gender fluid queer Muslim?
I know when I started, I decided I want to be a counselor.
Mm-hmm.
The reason I wanted to be a counselor because there was no way that it helped me. And so I decided that I wanted to be able to help myself first and come to terms of who I was and then be able to help other people like yourself. So when I was doing my counseling, my practicum, and I came across this youth who were way ahead of me when it comes to gender identity. And started saying they were non-binary and things like that. So I mean, I knew I was gay, and that was a struggle to begin with. In fact, I'm not even out as a gender person to my mom. And being gay and accepting my husband is enough for her. But I started expressing Moomtaz was there since I was in the film, but she had to hide who she was, and then gradually started coming out and things like that. And when I started young people and saw Layla in Toronto and things like that, it just gave me permission to express who I was. I mean, I don't think there's a turning point as such. Moomtaz has been coming out gradually, right? And I'm sure a lot of you can come to understand that because you've probably seen your experience as well. But and it was, first of all, being gay, suppressing who I was as a gay person, and then suppressing my gender identity. It's still coming out is ongoing. It never stopped. I'm sure we can understand that.
Do you have a question for you? Where in Islam or the Muslim faith does it say that entering into a same-sex relationship is an abomination?
Same place in the Bible.
It doesn't.
Well, supposedly. I mean, the thing is, Islam is not very clear when it comes to same-sex relationships. But there is space in Islam for transgender identity. In fact, places like Pakistan, I don't know about Bangladesh, but Pakistan and Iran, sex reassignment surgery is allowed. But there's not a lot of resources for trans people. But the Quran does recognize that there are people whose gender is not clear, and in fact says that where to pray, right? If your gender is, how are you going to pray? Pray with the women, or you pray with the men. But if your gender is not clear, then you pray in the middle, right? So I mean, there is space for that. Now there are queer Muslim activists who will argue that accept trans identity in the Quran and Islam, then the idea of trans is transcending gender. That means all queer folks transcend gender because we have same-sex desire. So therefore, if you accept trans folks, we should accept all queer folks. But we're not there yet. That's part of the struggle, and I think that's the same struggle with it comes to Judaism and Christianity.
Yeah.
You can speak about that.
Well, yeah, I can probably speak more about Judaism or Christianity because that's the whole thing. The reason why I asked the question is because I grew up in going to Roman Catholic school for 13 years, kindergarten through 12th grade, and you were told that you were an abomination if you desired the same sex, or if you didn't. Like, I like to wear pink. I like to wear certain style shoes and things like that. It's just
wearing heels.
yeah. So the nuns would try to beat that out of me. And it isn't anywhere in the Bible. As a matter of fact, if we track everything back to the Hebrew and then back into Sanskrit, what it comes out to be is there is a quote unquote warning that you won't have children. Does that matter to everybody if you're with the one you love?
Yeah, so I met a Jewish person, and they said that in the Torah, the Torah doesn't speak about what gender or sexual orientation or whatever, but what it does talk about is who you can sleep with in your family.
Yeah.
Yeah, family
It's
values,
somewhere. Yeah.
something like that. But that's in Leviticus, apparently. Yeah. My dad is both a Christian and a Jewish background. Yeah. So that's where that's at. But the thing is that what really gets to me is that a lot of those people who are the anti-Soji leaders here in the valley and in Surrey and things like that are from my community, right? And when you look at Pakistan, India, places like that, there's spaces for trans folks, and yet they are afraid of letting their children express who they are, and they're going after teachers like Annie Ohana, right? Who are creating space for letting young people discover and explore who they are.
She's also a Jewish.
Who's also Jewish. So yeah, this is one of the reasons why it's important to tell my story, and I think it's a good place. In the senior center, we're about to end this year, so almost to showing my story. Anybody else wants to share your thoughts? Please go ahead.
Just a question, going into counseling. I'm a counselor too. I found that there's not a lot of discussion around the non-binary when it comes to gender or bisexuality when it comes to sexual orientation. I'm just wondering if that's a common experience. I mean, I became a counselor 10 years ago, so hopefully that's changed. But what's your experience around?
My experience with my school counselor fucking in her room and never didn't even talk to me.
But even in your training now,
But I think whether you're a counselor or a teacher or a preacher or whatever, you're in that role of listening and supporting people, right? I think, and that's why I want to become a counselor, because I have lived experience. A lot of counselors don't, right? So this could be a resource for them, or other resources like we have at Salam or Share has resources and things like that in terms of cultural diversity and sexual orientation and identity. They need those resources. They need that training, and I think the BC Teachers Federation is getting around that. So when these people are protesting, in front of schools saying, "Oh, they're indoctrinating our kids with Soji," well, Soji is just a policy. It's not even the resources that the teachers have. It's just the beginning. So we just gotten there, and these people are protesting, saying, "Oh, they're indoctrinating." No, they're not. Right? In fact, the teachers don't even have resources. Some teachers do better than others. Some counselors do better than others. Some teachers are great. Some are very, conservative. So I think it's a personal thing, and it's a community-basis thing. It's a resources thing. I think we need to have more resources for people like counselors and teachers and preachers.
I'll agree, especially on the preacher part. Yes, sir.
So my question to you is, how are you going to get those resources? You're going to step back a few steps. The parents that raised me and you, I have 9 siblings. Did I ever hear the word sex in my whole life? In that family? No, not once. And when somebody within our religious community became pregnant outside of wedlock, she was sex shamed or slut shamed or whatever the hell, with a few pointed words. And when something else came up at one time about kids talking about sex or misbehaving, I still remember as clear as yesterday. You guys, because we were all boys, know that you can come and talk to me about this at any time. And I remember thinking at the age of 12 or 13, not on your life, because you'll shame the hell out of me in 2 seconds.
Yeah.
So what does that tell you about my father and my mother? They were frightened to death of their own sexuality.
Yeah.
They were controlled by their religion.
Yeah.
So you gotta stay in the confines of culture. You're not going to go anywhere saying you're wrong and we're right.
Yeah, and I think that's what a lot of these parents are coming from.
And back to pinkwashing, making a simple analogy.
Mm-hmm.
The TD Bank is making good business. They don't give a shit where that money comes from. And so to say they're just making business decisions. So for an organization to cut their, and be careful, I'm conscious that I'm treading on difficult ground here, to cut their funding off does nothing to the TD Bank. It only impacts the organization. And I'm not saying they shouldn't do that. I'm saying we need to think about those things a little bit further. We need to start educating the generation that you talk to, your first practicum placement, gender fluid, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
They were growing up with kids that were our children's children. And they grew up in a different atmosphere than us post-war babies.
True.
And they had parents who allowed them to speak. So the fear isn't there. The religion is about control, and religion is under all of us, with capitalism. So I'm just saying it's very, very complicated. And to say that you can make a single distinction and a single accusation and a single mea culpa ain't going to go very far. So
No,
you got to keep doing this work, and you got to expand it.
exactly, right? I mean, you're right. And I think depends where you are, too. Like, some areas are more than others, and here in the valley is more difficult, as you know. In terms of, I think, I was talking to Alec about, we met this Muslim parent just yesterday who has a trans kid, right? And I said we need to have support for the parents. Right? So this is all we need to do, is we need to support parents who have queer and trans.
But you got to know how to get out of that situation as well. I lived in Langley 25 years ago. And the day I was alone, I put my place up for sale and said, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
This Langley that I'm in now is not the same place.
But look at this, we have Pride right here in Langley.
That's my point.
That's really great.
Yeah.
I'll give you an example about the pinkwashing thing. Like Surrey Pride had the TD Bank. They also have Prosperity Credit Union. They realized they can find the money elsewhere, of course, right? They sent the money back to TD Bank saying, we don't want your blood money. And they got Prosperity Credit Union as a prime sponsor. So if there's a will, there's a way to stop pinkwashing. Others have. Capital Pride in Toronto, Ottawa has. Many others have. And, we fought for our rights in Stonewall here and things like that. But when we have our siblings who are suffering in Palestine, who are being raped and murdered, I think all Palestinians are, but if you're queer, you're more vulnerable, then we can't sort of take that blood money and celebrate Pride. Because I'm not arguing that at all. Yeah, this thing, and certain Pride proved that
you're agreeing with.
I agree with the aim. I think the process is a multi-generational process.
It is.
I look at my parents' generation, which was, post early 1900s to 2000, and then mine, and then what would be my kids' age and their kids. A world of difference. The world is the same place. Let's look at our language. We were talking about it in 10 years, our whole language has changed about this community. So it's slow, but you've got to keep educating at every line. Capitalism is a very big part of this problem.
Great capitalism is a very big part of the problem.
That's one they have.
With the utmost respect, I would like to point out something to you that is so fundamentally important. You link the issue of Palestine to the struggle here in our communities is so important to me. I thank you from the bottom of my heart. I am grieving and so hurt by what's happening. That pain I see on the screen just is a poor representation of pain, devastation that exists in all of our hearts. I need to point this out. We are forgetting
real essential things. And you're bringing this to all of our attention. I think it's all of my heart.
Thank you. I guess my bottom line is this, and thank you for this, but we're all human beings. It doesn't matter who we decide to love, who we decide to end the relationship with. What matters is that we all try to share that common thread and that common energy of love with each other. Everybody that we meet every day. And that's the reason why I do these films. Is because I want people to see that we can love each other unconditionally and we can love each other with there's no need for the hate at all. Yes, sir.
I'm sorry if I'm going to sound obnoxious, but the power,
Go ahead.
the power of language needs to be respected. You said who we decide to love. That is the main point that we get thrown at us. It's who we love.
And you know what?
You know what?
I want the correction. Thank you.
No, because I come from a very fundamentalist religion community, and choice, you're the spawn of the devil. It's okay. It's okay.
I am a recovering Roman Catholic. That should say a lot.
It's okay. I just wanted to make the point.
Yeah, but you're right. I can't, as far as my family is concerned, just the fact that I dress the way I do, I cannot go back east and go
Well,
back.
it shows how great the shoes you're wearing.
He said nothing.
Well, they could be more outrageous.
Everyone that I want to thank Michael for make this film.
Okay.
And I will thank you all for coming.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you for coming. Good job.
Yes.